So here's the massive box that everything's in. So I got to start by What's going on, guys? Welcome back to today for another video. I know this is not a normal scenery for you guys, but I just got out of work. Most of my parts for the Jeep are here, so I'm gonna do an unboxing with you guys, show you what I got, and then tomorrow we'll probably start by reassembling the engine. It's not gonna be me putting it in this video, just because my back's been bothering me a little bit. If you guys haven't seen the last video, you obviously don't know that, but my back's been bothering me a little bit, so I'm gonna wait until like I'm good and solid again before I put the engine in. So there might be like a little bit of a lack of content. Just bear with me. It's out of my control, but I do want to get the motor in. So we'll do this video of reassembling the motor. I'll show you guys how to do all the gaskets on the engine, set the timing, the whole nine, pretty much to reassemble a motor from bare block, pretty much. I mean, besides like, you know, the bearings and everything, because I'm not really going to mess with those. The motor has low mileage. So let's start by showing you guys what I got, and then tomorrow I'll see you guys to start installing all the parts. So it should be pretty fun. I got some really good silicone from my work. We use the stuff on all the customer cars, and I know that it has no possibility of leaking. It's a 3-bond. It's called 3-bond. It doesn't get affected by trans fluid, coolant, oil, any type of fluid. Is not going to affect that silicone. So that's just something to keep in mind. It's a little bit pricey, but it's 100% worth it. And if you don't want any leaks, I would pick some up. So here's the massive box that everything's in. So I got to start by, you know, obviously opening the tape and everything. And then I'll show you guys what's inside there. So give me 1 second to get this tape started, and then we'll take a look inside. Okay, guys, so here we have a box. And this is what I ordered right here. This is everything right here, just the box. No, I'm just joking. But I'm going to pull all this stuff out really quick. Just throw that to the side. Everything. Isn't it just like the best feeling when you get parts for stuff? Like I just personally love the feeling. Especially when you've been waiting to put an engine in your Jeep for a very long time. This is an awesome feeling to have all this stuff. So what we have here is a timing cover gasket. This is the one without the sleeve. If you guys have a messed up harmonic balancer, you're going to need the one with the sleeve. My harmonic balancer is brand new, so I don't need that one. So this is the one without the sleeve. This is a Felpro gasket right here. There's the part number right there. Also, all these gaskets, I will put Amazon links in the description down below. If you guys need any of the gaskets, I would highly appreciate you picking them up from one of my links. It really helps me out. It gives me, you know, a little bit of a cut from you guys ordering stuff. I know a couple of you ordered a few things, but yeah, so I'll post all the links to all these gaskets down below. So if you guys need them, you'll know the part numbers and everything like that. This isn't everything. I'm still waiting for some spark plug wires, some freeze out plugs, and one other thing. I don't remember which part it is. I would have to look, but I'm still waiting for a couple things. But this is pretty much everything I need to assemble the motor, so we can actually get the engine complete with an oil pan and everything on it. These are fuel injector O-rings, Felpro, obviously. Most of these gaskets you guys are going to see are going to be Felpro. The only gasket that's not going to be in this box is the intake manifold gasket, because I like to run Mopar for that, just because it's a multi-layered gasket. And it's I just never had luck with the aftermarket ones sealing, so I always get the OE for that. But all the other gaskets you could definitely get away with Felpro. Felpro makes an awesome gasket, and I would highly recommend them to you guys. But these are the injector O-rings. That's the part number right there. There is 12 of those. Here's the thermostat housing gasket. Again, let me see if I can get a part number for you guys. There it is right there. Then we have some spark plugs. We have 6 of these. There should be another one somewhere in the box. but there's 6 of these. These are NGK V-Power copper plugs. If you have a 4-liter, I only suggest running a NGK V-Power copper plug. I just had issues with other plugs. Jeep didn't really run right, or you know, one of my motors, like probably I think it was my first motor, had a tendency to eat the tip of the spark plugs, and these were the only plugs that it didn't do that with. So I would highly recommend getting these NGK V-Power plugs. There should be another spark plug in here. Oh, there it is, right there. So here's an NGK V-Power spark plug. Obviously 6, it's a 6-cylinder. This is going to be our valve cover gasket. The part number for this is going to be right there. And again, Felpro gasket. Felpro makes awesome gaskets. Highly recommend you guys. This is going to be more injector O-rings. We already did that. Then we have a rear main seal. This is the rear main seal for the 4-liter without the tabs. There is, the earlier 4.0s use a rear main seal that has prongs on the sides that extend out like that. This is the one without those, and that's the part number for it right there. Then we have a thermostat housing gasket, or not thermostat. I'm sorry guys, it's been a long day. I worked all day. This is a water pump gasket. That's the part number right there for that. Then we have the oil pan gasket, which is this guy right here. And that is the part number right there for the oil pan. These are more fuel injector O-rings. You guys don't need to see that part number. And most of you are probably not going to need this. I just so happened to break an AC line on the way out with my motor. Well, trying to move the condenser around, I broke it. So if you need that line, that's the part number right there. This is just the cheapest one off Rock Auto. It had a heart next to it, which means everybody's been buying it. So I'm just going to trust their judgment and just buy the cheapest one, because I really don't want to spend a lot of money on like a Mopar line. It just doesn't make sense. The only thing that goes through here is Freon. If I have an issue with it, I'll get a better line, but I think this will do perfectly fine. So as you can see, the box is now empty. So I just wanted to unbox all that stuff with you, share part numbers with you. Again, I did join Amazon affiliate, so all the part numbers, all the parts that I use in any type of video are going to be in the description below with my links. You could just click the link, hit order, and go through that process if you need any of this stuff. I really appreciate you guys using my links. It does really help me out. A couple of you picked up some like oil catch cans. I saw one of you picked up an oil drain plug washers. I just want to say thank you for all that. You know, I really appreciate you guys using the links, and I'll continue to post all the links down below just as long as you guys are going to use them. And you know, I'll see you guys tomorrow when we start installing all these gaskets and getting the 4-liter ready to go in the Jeep. Very excited. Really want to share with you guys the first start, because honestly that's the best feeling that you're gonna get. It's the first initial start. Like when you hear that thing start up, it's like, wow, I did that myself, you know what I mean? And I put that together myself. And I didn't get to share that with you guys for the last motor because I did not do YouTube at the time, but I was very excited when it first started up. I actually started open header. We probably won't do that this time because the exhaust is there. The last time I had to make an exhaust because my exhaust was all screwed up. But we're gonna get this thing done, we're gonna get it back in the Jeep, and we're gonna get the Jeep back on the road. And then from there on out, I mean, the Jeep's gonna have like a couple little things here and there that I want to do to it, but most of the content, and I know you guys are Jeep guys, but please bear with me. I really want to get my Mustang back on the road. I really need to get that at a body shop, and the Jeep just really screwed me over on that by the engine going goodbye. So I really want to get that done. If you guys could just bear with me, view those videos, please. It really helps me out. Drop likes on them, comments, you know. And yeah, so I'll see you guys tomorrow for the install of most of the stuff that's going to get my motor ready to go in. So it's the next day, and we're going to start assembling the 4-liter. My dog's being a pain in the butt right now. Hey, get out of here. Go that way. Go that way. Okay. He wants to work on it just as bad as I do. So we're going to start assembling this motor. I already put some stuff on, but I'll go over with you guys what I did. And yeah, we'll get this thing together and pretty much get it ready to go in the Jeep. I don't know if I'm going to upload this video separately from when I get the intake gasket. Probably not. I'll probably put that in here also and get the motor completely set up before I post this video. So let's hop right into this and I'll show you guys what I got going. All right, guys, so I put the timing chain on already. So that's already on, but I'll go over with you how I did that. Pretty much, you got two dots, right? So you got this guy right here, and then you got another dot on here. It's right there. I know it's hard for you to see. You line both of those up, and then these sprockets slide right off after you take this bolt off, of course. And I just have this in here because I was rotating the motor over because it was sitting, so I didn't want it to like lock up on me or anything. So I just made sure I rotated it every couple days. But that's how you set the timing on this. And then the only other things that I did was I put my roller rockers on. These get torqued to 25 to 28 foot-pounds. They just go on, you know, like a standard rocker arm. And you just bolt those right there. And then I started putting freeze-out plugs in, but I'm still waiting for 2 more freeze-out plugs to come in the mail. They're not here yet, so I'll go over the freeze-out plug install with you when those come. You know, I'll install those for you. And I also got to install the cam plug in the back of the engine. But other than that, today we're going to get the oil pan on, we're going to get the valve cover on, we're going to get the water pump on, the timing cover, thermostat, and thermostat housing. And I'm going to go over with you guys exactly how to do that. So I'm going to start with the rear main seal in the back of the motor. I'll show you guys how to do that really quick, because that is kind of the first step. I don't want to be like moving this thing around, so I want to finish everything on the bottom here, and then we'll flip it over and we'll do the all the other stuff. So let me get the rear main seal out of this thing and I'll show you guys how to do that, and then we'll put the new one in. So to do your rear main seal, the first step is you have to get this main girdle off here. It's just a bunch of 14mm nuts. You know, they run all the way down on every bearing cap. Take every one of those nuts off and get this girdle out of the way. I'm going to zip those off really quick, and then I'll be back with you guys when we remove the rear bearing cap. After you get your main girdle off, and yes, that does need to go back. The newer 4 liters, I don't know how true it is, but the block isn't as strong as the older ones, so they put that girdle just so, you know, everything stays nice here. Those nuts are going to get torqued to, I believe it's 40 foot-pounds. I never personally torque those nuts. I usually just tighten them until they're tight. But the rear bearing cap, you're 100% going to have to torque that. It's two 21mm, these 2 studs. I know, guys, the lighting in here is not the best. That's all I'm working with. So, but these 2 bolts got to come out. They're like a stud bolt. They got to come off, and then I'm going to tap this bearing cap. Never use a metal hammer, a rubber hammer to tap that. And then I'll show you guys what the seal looks like after we get this cap off. All right, so the bearing cap is off. As you can see, my bearings are in really, really good shape, kind of to be expected. It's a low mileage 4 liter, but we're changing this seal that's right there. That's what we're after. You got to be really careful doing this, guys, because you don't want to scratch this crank. Ask me how I know. My motor that I took out of there, I nicked the crank a very little bit and it leaked. So what I had to do was, it was a pain in the butt because the motor was in the Jeep when I did it, but I took it back out and I had to sand, like with really fine sandpaper until it was smooth again. And that was the only way that I could seal that. So how we're going to prevent nicking the crank is we're going to use brass punches to get that out. We're not going to use anything that's going to score the crankshaft. So I'm going to use a brass punch. If you guys don't know, brass is very, very soft and it won't nick that crank. So what you're going to want to do pretty much is you just want to tap the seal down and it's going to spin around and come out the top. And then once you get enough out, you can just grab it with needle nose pliers and pull it out. So I'm going to get that out really quick, and then I'm going to clean all these surfaces up. And before we put it back, we're going to coat oil on the seal, on this right here, and on the bearing itself. You want to make sure that you coat that with oil because if you clean it all off, you're going to start your motor, that bearing's going to be dry. You don't want that. So just coat that with some oil. If you have assembly lube, even better. I don't have any, so I'm going to use oil. Just be patient, guys. It will come. I got mine started right now. You don't want to rush this. This is not something you want to rush. You really do not want to mar this crank. So just be patient. It's going to be stuck. I promise you. It's going to be stuck in there. It's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get out. But just take your time. Tap it very, very lightly, slowly. Make sure you're good. Make sure you're not up against the crank. And it's going to come out. So I'm going to grab this now with these needle nose pliers. Pull it the rest of the way out. And we're going to get to putting the new seal in. All right, so obviously that bearing looks really, really good. Like I said, it's to be expected. It's low mileage. We do have to get this seal out of here. We're just going to take like a flathead or something and push it over, and it's going to pop right out. And then we're going to put the new one in here. And I'll show you guys where the silicone goes and everything. But let me get this out really quick. And I'm also going to clean this bearing with rubbing alcohol just to make sure everything's off of it before I coat it with, motor oil. So let me get this out, and then we'll get that coated up and cleaned up. And then we'll be putting this bearing cap back. This bearing cap's going to get torqued to 80 foot-pounds. Make sure you torque this bearing cap. It's very, very critical. You don't want to not torque this. You'll wipe these bearings out if you make it too tight or too loose. So definitely make sure you torque it. It's 80 foot-pounds. You can get yourself a Harbor Freight torque wrench. They're pretty accurate. There's people that's measured them against like Snap-on, and they're only like 1 foot-pound off. So I would highly suggest picking a torque wrench up. You're definitely going to need it. And let me get the seal out and get this cap back on. So with this seal, there's not a top or a bottom. You can use either one either way. But just remember that the tang part, like it's like on an angle like this, goes towards the bearing cap. It goes in the inside of the motor. So just remember to put it that way. That's the way that it goes. Same thing on that side. It goes towards the motor, the open side towards the motor. Just remember that and you won't have any issues. This one, I just coated it with oil outside and inside, and then I just pushed it into place. No issues there. Our silicone's actually going to go right here. So we're going to put like a nice bead of silicone from the inside here all the way out to that like groove. Same thing on the other side, and then we're going to stick it into place. But before you do that, you obviously need to install your seal in here, which I still have to clean these surfaces up because they are a little bit dirty. So I'm going to clean all of that up, and then I'm going to get the seal back in there. It does come with this right here. This is just to make sure the seal doesn't get cut on the way in. You put this in the edge. So you're gonna, the seal goes right here. You're gonna put this, in the little opening right there, just like that. So it's just going to create like a cushion so it doesn't cut the outside of the seal. So let me get the seal installed, and then we're going to get this bearing cap back on. All right, so everything's cleaned up here. You're going to have a little bit of silicone in the corners. Just scrape that away. It's really not that bad. I cleaned all these off. I'm about to clean it now with just, rubbing alcohol. You can get this at your local grocery store or CVS or wherever. I'm just going to clean the seal surface and the bearing surface, and then I'm going to also clean the bearing, and then we're going to coat the bearing, the crank, the seal surface with oil, and also the other half of the rear main seal we're going to want to coat with oil. And make sure you coat the part that you're putting in the block. Make sure you coat it very, very well. You can also use soap, I've heard. I've never done it that way. I've always used oil. But you want to coat it really good because you don't want to tear the seal going in. You want it nice and lubricated. So like, as you can see how much oil I put over there, that's enough. So that's what you're going to want to do. Let me get the bearing cap back on. Again, these get torqued to 80 foot-pounds, the 2 bearing cap bolts. Make sure you do that. I wouldn't go like one at a time. I would try to go even until you make it to 80 foot-pounds. That's just the way that I would suggest doing it. And then you could put your girdle back on, and then I'll see you guys after I get all of that back on, and then we'll move on to getting the timing cover on, and then we'll move on to getting the oil pan on. So we're making progress, surely. Not really trying to work too hard. My back's still bothering me, so I'm just taking my time, going nice and slow, and we're gonna get it done. So when you're nice and lubricated, it literally just slides in right by hand. There's no need to hit it. This is what I was talking about the little thing they give you. You put this here just so you don't catch it on the edge and it destroy your seal. And then afterwards, you could just pull that right out. And then obviously that's garbage. You don't use that. But yeah, so the seal's all the way in. Everything's good. Remember, open part of the seal goes back. It's called a tang, but it's like the only open part on the seal where the flap is. It goes back. So just remember that and you won't have any issues. I'm about to put the bearing cap back on. Like I said, we're going to put silicone. Like we're going to put like a nice amount of silicone right here, like a line. And then the same thing on this side. We're going to put a nice line. And then we're going to torque our bearing cap back. We're also going to coat all of this with oil just to make sure everything's good when I do initially start the motor. I don't want this bearing going dry on me, so we're going to coat it. But let me get the bearing cap back on, get this coated with oil, and then we're going to move on to the oil pan. So stay tuned. All right, so the rear main seal is in, girdle's back on. Like I said, you guys could torque this if you want. I think it's like 35 to 40 foot-pounds or something for these little nuts. I never torque it, just tighten them up. It's not really a point to torquing it. And then, like I said, 80 foot-pounds in the back. As you can see, a little bit of silicone came out, but that's okay because you're actually going to put silicone there for the oil pan, but we're not there yet. So I'll tell you guys about that when we get there. So before we do the oil pan, we're going to have to do the timing cover. The reason for that is the oil pan bolts to your timing cover. So you're going to want to put your timing cover on first. So we have to get that ready. But before we do that, I have the OE timing cover right here. And if you're doing a chain, you got to replace this guide right here. Usually they break. Every 4-liter I've opened, this guide has been either non-existent or broken. So just keep that in mind if you're doing something like this. I got to get the new front seal pressed in here. You're just going to use a socket that fits around the outside of the seal. Just drive it in until it hits the back side there. It'll stop once it's all the way in. And then we'll toss this on, and I'll show you guys where I'm going to put the silicone for that. Probably going to coat both sides of the gasket, honestly, and just do it that way. Because you never know if these surfaces are perfectly flat. So I just like to coat it just for peace of mind. It's not going to hurt anything if you do it that way. So I'd rather be safe than sorry and doing the job twice. That's just me. You guys can do whatever you want, but that's just what I do. And once we get this on, then we can get the oil pan on finally and get this motor flipped over. So that's very exciting. Here we have our timing cover gasket. This is the seal that your harmonic balancer is going to ride on. I'm not too sure what this is exactly. If one of you know, can you please drop a comment below and let me know what this is? Because I've never had to use this on any timing cover that I've ever done on a 4-liter. And I'm really curious to know if this is maybe for, you know, a different year or something. I'm not too sure, but I've never in my life had to use this, and I've never had oil leaks, so I know it's not used on mine. But if you guys know, definitely let me know. The outside of this right here, the part that presses into the cover, I am going to coat this with a very, very little bit of silicone, like a fine dusting, before I drive it in the timing cover, just to make sure there's no leaks. Leaks are my worst pet peeve, man. Like, I have no leaks on my Subaru. This Mustang right here has a ton of leaks, but we're going to go in depth in that because I do want to pull the motor out of this. I want to turbocharge this, so it might need to get built, maybe, because I know I'm going to get tired of power, but that's for another video. So let's get this seal in there. I'm just going to coat it really quick. I'm also going to clean all the surfaces with rubbing alcohol. You want everything nice and clean, guys. It's honestly, it's the only way you're going to ensure that there's no leaks. I'm also going to clean this surface too with rubbing alcohol before I press this on. And then we'll get the timing cover on, and then we'll get the harmonic balancer back on. So let me get the seal pressed in, and then we'll move on to cleaning all these surfaces. And then I'll show you guys how I'm going to coat the gasket and put the timing cover on. This is what I mean by a very, very thin coating. There's like barely even any on there. And then you're going to want to press it in. All right, so the seal's in. And this is just excess silicone, that shiny stuff. I kind of just smeared it around just to seal the outside just in case. I don't think we're going to have any issues, but yeah. This is a bearing seal driver. You can pick these up from Harbor Freight. I didn't have a socket big enough to go around that, so I used the bearing seal driver. This is the proper tool to do that. And then, yeah, so I'm just going to coat the inside of this with oil, just so we're not putting a harmonic balancer through there dry. You don't want to tear the seal. That's the last thing you want to do. So it takes 2 seconds. Just coat the inside with oil, and then we're going to toss this timing cover on and get that all set up. and then we'll be putting the oil pan on. So let me get this thing all cleaned up with alcohol on the backside here, and let me get the motor cleaned up and that coated with oil, and I'm going to toss this right on. And I'll show you guys pretty much how I coated the seal here. You're going to coat the gasket for the timing cover. Same concept. You just want a very, very fine coating just to make sure there's going to be no leaks. Because if you have any like scratches or anything, that silicone is going to fill it in. So I would just recommend obviously coating all your gaskets. All right, so this is also a very critical part. So after you put your timing cover up there, you don't want to tighten any of these bolts. You want to now put your harmonic balancer on. And the reason for that is because that's not going to be centered in there. There's a little bit of play with these bolts in there. So you want to get this on first. I already coated that seal with oil. I'm probably not going to coat this with oil just because, but you are going to want to put a little bit of silicone in the keyway, which is right there, just to make sure no oil leaks out of there. That's a good idea to do that. It looks like somebody already did it actually here, probably me. This was a brand new harmonic balancer on my last motor, so that's what we're going to be putting back on, and this just slides right back in, and then you put the bolt and tighten it down. There's a torque spec for that too. I'm not going to torque it. I am going to put Loctite on the bolt. Blue, red, whatever you guys want. Red's going to be a little bit harder to get off, so just keep that in mind. And I know you guys are probably cringing right now because I have all these tools on the Mustang. The Mustang's not painted. It needs a ton of body work anyway, so it's kind of my workbench right now. It is what it is. But yeah, so I'm going to get the harmonic balancer put on, and then I'm going to go around and tighten all these bolts. These bolts are in inch-pounds, all the torque. I'm not going to torque them. Just tighten them. Don't go crazy. There's no need to go crazy. They're very small bolts. Just nice and snug is all they need. So let me get all that done, and then we're going to toss the oil pan on this motor. Another quick thing, if you guys have all this together, you could find top dead center. Most things that you're going to adjust is going to be top dead center on the intake stroke. So you rotate the motor till you feel air coming out of the spark plug hole. That means that you're on the intake stroke. And then it's going to be a little hard to see, but this right here is your timing mark, and there's a little slit on the harmonic balancer. All you have to do is just line those two up on the intake stroke, and you're at top dead center. And you can see that clearly because I have no oil pan on, but if you had an oil pan on, that's how you would do it. You put your finger in the spark plug hole till air comes out. So I want this at top dead center just because I'm probably, before I put the motor in, I'm probably going to take the cam sensor off and rotate the oil pump just to get oil throughout the whole motor. But yeah, so all these bolts are tightened up. The small ones are 3/8. The bigger ones are 16. I just made them nice and snug, and that was it. I'm about to toss the oil pan on now. I'm going to clean all this down again, rubbing alcohol. Same thing with the oil pan side. I also want to clean the oil pan out because that is the one off the blown up motor. I just want to make sure there's no junk in it, metal or anything like that. So I'm just going to give that a quick bath, and then I'm going to get that tossed right on here. And again, the oil pan gasket comes with these little like things that hold it up if you're doing it in the Jeep. I am not, so I'm not going to be using those, but I'm going to get this oil pan on right now, and then I'm going to get this motor flipped over, and I'll see you guys after I get the pan on here. Okay, so oil pan is on, timing cover is on, harmonic balancer's on. It's rear main seal's done. We're about to turn it over and get the valve cover on, water pump, thermostat, all that's good stuff. We'll get the spark plugs in it, and yeah, we don't really have too much more that I got to do today. 3 more gaskets. Valve cover is pretty easy. I'm probably going to go grab my fuel rail off the Jeep. I left it connected whenever I pulled it because I didn't have fuel line disconnect tools, but I found them in my toolbox. So I'll probably go out, get the fuel rail. I'll swap the fuel injector O-rings on the rail. I might as well while I'm here. And then we're going to put the plugs, valve cover, thermostat, water pump, and yeah, pretty much be ready to go back in. The only thing that's going to be left is the intake manifold. But like I said, I'm waiting for that gasket still, so that'll be at the end of this video. It'll be the same video for you guys, different day for me, so it is what it is. But when you put this oil pan gasket on, just make sure everything's lined up nice, and you don't have to go crazy with these bolts, just nice and snug, and that's it. Don't go crazy, don't over tighten. Silicone goes in the corners where the timing cover meets the block. I also put it right there where it bends up. You don't really have to, but I did just because. And then the same thing in the back, you put it silicone in the corners. So that's all you really need to do. Make sure your oil drain plug's tight. I never tighten mine whenever I drain the oil out of the bad motor. So I just tighten that up. That's good to go. And we're about to get this thing flipped over, and we'll start by putting the valve cover on first, and then we'll go about putting the water pump on and everything. Just because the pipe that comes off the water pump kind of gets in the way of the valve cover, so it'll be easier to put the valve cover first. So let me get this thing rotated over, and then show you guys what the top looks like. I have my valve cover here, valve cover gasket. These are the little washers that go on the, they go in the holes for all the bolts. I usually like to put those in the valve cover first and then put the bolt in. These are my roller rockers right here. If you guys have these, you're going to have to clearance your factory valve cover. If you're running a factory valve cover, you got to take out the oil baffling because the rocker arms do hit it. So I'm going to get this tossed onto there. Again, no silicone on this gasket. Anytime you have like a rubber gasket, I'd never use silicone. Except with the exception of the oil pan, because it meets two surfaces like the timing cover and the block. So you use it on that, but you don't use it on something like this. And all these bolts just nice and snug, not crazy tight, and you'll have no leaks. So let me get this on there, and then we'll move on to the thermostat, water pump, and we'll put the plugs in it. So guys, we're actually going to have a complete motor tonight. This is the same day. I just got done putting the valve cover on, and I realized that the mail came, and I have an intake gasket, and I have freeze out plugs. So we're gonna have a complete motor tonight. So that's great. The only other thing that we're gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go get some oil, a new oil filter, because I don't know how old that is, and I want to put a Mopar filter. That's all I ever run on these things. So yeah, I'm about to toss the spark plugs in. Once the spark plugs are in, then I'm gonna put the water pump on, the thermostat, and then we'll bolt the intake manifold on, and we'll put the freeze out plugs in. So let me put the spark plugs in. I know you guys don't really need to see that done. I'm just going to put those in really quick, get that done, and then we'll get the water pump on, then we'll do the thermostat, and then we'll do the intake. So just stay tuned, and we'll get everything done here. Actually, I think I'm going to do these plugs first. This is the cam plug. The cam plug is going to be the silver one in your kit. The rest of them, I mean, if you opt to get brass plugs like I do, I just like the brass ones better. They're more prone to not rusting out on you. They're still going to corrode, but they're not going to rot as quick. So what I did here was I cleaned this hole out with alcohol. I wiped it all out. Same thing with the freeze plugs on that side over there. They're nice and clean. And then what I like to do is some people argue that you don't need to coat these. I always coat these. Like I said, it's never going to hurt to coat something. You know what I'm saying? So like the same thing with like the gaskets with the silicone. It's never going to hurt to put that on there. It's just going to make it a little bit harder next time you have to do that gasket to clean it up. But I'd rather that than put this whole thing together, go to start it, and it leak on me. So I coat these with this stuff right here. This is Indian head gasket sealant or shellac compound or whatever. I just take a decent amount and I coat the outside of the plug, and I also coat the hole. And then you press this in. You're going to want, you know, something big like a socket that fits inside of the plug. And you just tap it in till it's a little bit past flush. So like a very, very little bit past flush. I know you guys could see it here. It's just a very, very little bit. And then the extra compound, I just smear along the outside just to seal up the lip. So I'm going to get all of those in really quick. And then we're going to toss the water pump and thermostat on. So I'm getting ready to put the water pump on. And I don't know if you guys can see that, but this bolt actually goes into the cooling jacket. So you're going to want to put some type of sealant on the threads. I'm just going to use probably silicone on it. And then the rest of them, you're good. They all don't go into the cooling jacket. But this one does, in fact, go into the jacket. So you definitely want to put sealant on there. And then I'm going to coat, like I did with the timing cover gasket, I'm going to coat both sides of this gasket before I put it on. And then again, just nice and snug with all the bolts, and you should be good. This is a flow cooler high flow water pump. If you guys want this part, drop a comment below and I'll link it. But I'm not just going to put the link because I didn't just buy this. Like I bought this a very long time ago. But this definitely helps out a lot with cooling. Another thing really quick, guys. These 4 liters use 2 different style water pumps. They use a short water pump and a long water pump. And the only reason I'm remembering this to tell you guys this is because it looks like at one point somebody had the wrong water pump on this motor, because the inside was like ground down a little bit from the propeller hitting it. So you want to make sure that you get the right one for your car. And I do believe the WJ is one of those weird ones where like 99 and 2000 are the long one, and then up is the short one. So I'm not 100% on that, but definitely make sure you get the right one for your car. This way you don't grind down all your stuff inside there. But as you can tell, we're almost complete, man. This is really, really exciting. I'm really excited. I really want to get this thing in, man, so bad. I just want to hear it run. It's gonna sound so good. The guy did send me a video of it running, and it was like silent, like it wasn't knocking or anything. So I'm really hoping that it's the same way, which it should be, I would imagine. So yeah, I'm gonna get the thermostat on here right now, and then we're gonna get the intake on, and that's probably gonna be about it for this video, and then I'll close you guys out. But I'll definitely show you how to do the intake, because I do coat the gasket in something. You don't have to, but I do personally. So let me get the thermostat up on here. And remember, when you put your thermostat in, I do not know where my thermostat actually is. I got to look for it. But when you put your thermostat in, there's a little nipple. The nipple goes up. That's just to help the system bleed a little bit better. So just keep that in mind when you do put your thermostat on. You want the nipple up. So for any gaskets that are like this is almost like a head gasket. I always coat them with this copper spray gasket. It's a high temp sealant. Obviously it's for head gaskets, but I'm going to use it on the intake exhaust gaskets just to make sure everything seals up there. And, you know, as you can tell here, making really, really, really good progress. Pretty much the whole front of the motor's on, valve cover's on, oil pan's on, all the freeze plugs are in. I also coated the outside of the freeze plugs with that silicone just to make sure. Not going to have any leaks. I don't want to start this thing and have to do more work on it than what I have to do. So that's why I'm going through all this extra stuff just to coat stuff. I'd rather not do the job twice. This gasket is all cleaned up. You know, I scraped everything off, and then I also wiped it down with rubbing alcohol just to make sure everything's good. This head does not look bad whatsoever, as you can tell. Looking down in there, these valves look like they got hot at one point, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. You know, everything looks pretty good. So we're going to get the intake and the exhaust manifolds on, which I have Doug Thorley headers. That's why they're two pieces. The factory one might be two pieces. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I'm going to get everything bolted up here. And these bolts you want to make pretty tight, not like crazy, like don't like hang off the freaking ratchet, but just like tighten it up good, you know, make sure it's going to seal up good. Last thing you want is one of these intake ports to leak, because it's a pain in the ass to do with it in the Jeep. So just take my word for that and make sure it's good, and you won't have any issues. So I'm going to get the intake, the exhaust on, and I'm probably going to toss the AC compressor on and all that type of stuff. Probably put the alternator bracket on, and you know, then it'll be ready to go in the Jeep. So that'll be the next video for you guys. What I do for this is these bolts share the same bolts as the intake, but you want your header to be straight, like you want it to be level. So the two bottom ones are they only go to the exhaust. So what you can get away with doing is starting a middle bolt just to hold your header in place, and then you could tighten the edges down. And now, since those are tight, I could take this bolt back out, and the exhaust is going to stay where it is. And then I can put the intake on and put all the other bolts in, and then tighten them all down. Guys, she's ready to go in, man. That's it. Couple hours and a couple hours of my time ready to go in. Everything's on here. The only thing is the power steering pump's not on there, so I can't put the belt. The power steering pump I actually left on the car because I didn't want to drain the fluid and everything. It's not really a point, kind of just swung it out of the way. But the next video you guys see, this will be going in, and we'll be doing the first start and the first drive. So we'll see how she responds and everything. The only thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape up all these holes just so nothing gets in my motor. I'm going to tape up the throttle body, both of these valve cover grommets, and I'm also going to tape the bottom of the exhaust just so everything's sealed up, no moisture can get in, nothing like that. And yeah, we should be ready to rock and roll. So hopefully she runs good, man. I really hope so. But yeah, here she is. Shouldn't have any leaks, nothing like that. Everything should be sealed up very, very good. Like what you saw in this video, please continue to support the channel. Really appreciate you guys. All the links, all the parts in the description down below. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. And yeah, next time you guys see me, this thing will hopefully be going in, and hopefully it runs. Should run. I really hope it runs. If it doesn't run, I'm gonna be very, very, very upset. But fingers crossed, it's gonna be good. So yeah. So until next time, please like, comment, subscribe, share this video if you guys want with your friends or whatever. And yeah, if you have any questions for me, drop them down below. Be more than happy to communicate with you guys. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.